Okay, welcome to live stream today, and we'll see just how this goes. It's always an adventure doing a live stream, but we'll see what kind of involvement we get from people. What we're going to be looking at today are just a few things with the new update, and we're going to commiserate a little bit about the update, partially because it's such a small update. This is the 10.7.4, but immediately I noticed a few issues that I didn't have earlier in the day before doing it. And so I don't think what I installed was necessarily totally the culprit. I don't know. But nothing in the new release notes seemed to suggest I was going to be having the new issues I was having. But here we are. So let me explain at least first what issues I started having. And it was really, I still don't even understand it. I'm going to try to replicate it, but I haven't been able to replicate it yet. I just haven't tried. But I know that I was in the middle of working on the song that's currently on the screen right now. And I was recording some vocal takes, and all of a sudden, everything would just get all garbly and distorted. And usually for me, this was a sign that something with my interface was having an issue, or perhaps there was a sample rate blip happening with some other software on the computer at the time. And so I thought, that's probably just a restart. So I restarted, and it was always happening at like a similar place. So it was during this right here, this verse section up behind me, and it would get halfway through, and I would lose audio while I was recording. But it would sound weird, but it would still record. So it was just playback was weird, and I'd never had this happen before, exactly like that. And I just couldn't figure out what it was that was, doing it. I had my performance meter up. All of my threads were super low. My drive IO was normal. Nothing. I mean, I changed my buffer size. It just wouldn't work right. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe because I had all of my vocal tracks in a track stack. Maybe that was the thing. So I pulled out the track I was recording from the track stack. I don't have it in track stack anymore, obviously. I took them all out. But I took the one out that I was recording, and everything was fine. And so one thing I'm hoping maybe in the comments, if you're watching this later or now, if anyone's ever had a hard time recording directly into a track stack, I've never had that issue. I mean, I was doing it before the update and then after the update. So really, it's like this whole game of what an update is going to do for you and what it's going to screw up, and then being able to think quickly to try to find a workaround. This is not a Logic exclusive experience, certainly. And everything's back to working. I mean, I just am not using a track stack while I'm recording. I could put them all back in a track stack now that I'm done recording. But it's like this game we're always playing with the software developers, where they release a small update that fixes 6 things, and inadvertently something else gets broken. And I don't know if anyone else has had that issue, that specific issue, but I mean, I didn't have it before I did the update, and then I had it after the update. So regardless of this being an issue previously, it became an issue for me at that moment. And so that kind of thing, it just drives me crazy. But like I said, pulled everything out of the track stack, and it works. There's a couple other factors here that are new to me that I hadn't done before this particular project. One of them is the Vera Speed option, where I'm doing Vera Speed, which is the speed and pitch. And so it's like on the tape machines where you have a Vera Speed knob and you can just like speed it up and it goes faster and a little bit higher. Well, I mean, that's kind of what I mean, I love this feature in Logic that we can do this, because every once in a while I get to a point in a mix and I'm like, I like this, but it just is like slightly slower than what I was hoping for. And I think, you know what, let me just Vera speed this up like 2% or 3%. And it has this really cool end result. Mostly probably just me who even notices it. But I think that it's kind of cool to be able to just Vera speed your whole project up and down. And then it got me thinking, I'm actually going to be making a video about this later. When I'm doing harmony parts on songs, I actually was like, you know what, I'm going to Vera speed this up like 4%. And then, put it back down at 3% after I've recorded it. Because you record it, you're going to, sing it up a little bit higher and sing a little bit faster. And then as you put it back down to the 3%, it changes the character of the sound a little bit. It's like a little bit of a pitch shift, but in a more, organic way. Or you can, go down while you're recording and then go back up. And so I think that there's certainly some options with that to change the sound. So if you want a little brighter, you can go a little slower while recording and then go back faster. Anyway, so I've been messing with this, and this was the only other thing. So potentially the bug could be Vera speed mixed with recording into a track stack. I mean, that's like the kind of like insanity sometimes we have to think about when we're doing things with software. It's like no one's testing that out in the beta phase. No one's testing recording things into track stacks with, the Vera speed on in the beta. I mean, no one's doing that. So how would anybody know if that's going to cause an issue? And it could have been causing an issue all along, and just some little tweak they made with the audio unit format or something, causes that issue. I also thought it could have been that I've got the Reason rack on this project, but I took it off and put it back on and it was all fine. There is an update for that that I need to install, but for the most part, it wasn't that. But it's like, that's the first thing that goes through my head is like, which of my plugins now is crashing my whole system? So, that's the danger when updating to new pieces of software. And I posted a video yesterday about the update, and a lot of people are like, you know what, I'm not going to do this one. I'm just going to wait for a bit, and I'm not going to pull the trigger on it. And I understand that hesitancy. At the same time, that's one of the reasons why I do it, is because then I can say like, oh my gosh, this update totally just screwed up everything. Or no, it seems like everything's running fine. And at first it was running fine until I started recording something. And that's when it kind of fell apart. So that's kind of the question. What I want in the comments in this video now or later, put down the things that you're still having issues with, what bugs you're still facing, because I think, it's worth talking about and figuring that out. On a separate note, I saw yesterday the new Pro Tools update, which is unrelated to Logic, obviously, in many ways, but in some ways, it like blew me away how related this thing is now. So for instance, they added some new instruments, which anytime they add instruments, that's a good thing for people who use the software. I'm not really going to talk about the instruments very much. There's like a drum module and a synthesizer, which of course in Logic we've got lots of. But I was noticing a couple things. Let me find this. First one was the new tweak audio timing and pitch. Let me mute that. Which, if you look at their elastic audio feature, and I don't track Pro Tools all that closely. I use it a ton. I teach at the university. It's in my classrooms. I use Pro Tools at a pretty high level. But I was just thinking, man, look at this, elastic audio feature and how similar it looks to what we do with FlexTime in Logic. And then I was laughing because when they do this thing with quantization, they have the Logic style grooves in there, which if you haven't used old versions of Logic, that won't mean anything to you. But it's just like the influence there may not come directly from Logic, but it's surprisingly similar looking. And, question in the chat from Jerome Jansen. Sorry, mispronouncing that, I'm sure. Does the audio track stack recording issue occur with MIDI tracks? I haven't tried it yet. So one of my things today is going to be to go troubleshoot all of that and figure out exactly where the issues are. But it didn't sound like it. Because I did do a little bit of MIDI playing. It wasn't in a track stack now that I think about it. So I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly. We can try that in a second. That's a good question though, because I'll try that as soon as we finish this thing about Pro Tools. And then the other one, let's see, we had, the mixed Dolby Atmos music, which doesn't work in their lowest version of Pro Tools. It just works in their upper versions now. But, they're talking about mixed Dolby Atmos music, and then I followed some of the links and all the things that you can do with it. It's still an add-on. You have to pay extra for it, unlike the Logic version of Dolby Atmos music, which, comes and is part of it. And then, knowing you can't even do this with the entry level of Pro Tools, you have to pay more to get it. But I also noticed, it's like they're trying to pass in some ways and keep up in other ways. Certainly, Pro Tools, the big professional post-production tool, is being used more for Dolby Atmos theatrical releases than Logic ever will be. It won't be. Logic is more for consumer music over the Apple Store, Apple Music. But then I noticed that even Pro Tools now, Avid Play, they're becoming a distributor service. You can actually upload your music through Avid Play, which is all a part of this, and distribute your music without having to go to any other party. This is like, these companies are all doing so much. They're all merging in these unexpected ways. But for the most part, this looks continuously closer to like what Logic does. It's like they're trying to expand into this market. But they did one thing which I wish so much I could hear. I'll probably get the update to Pro Tools here just so I can test this out. Let's see. They have this new feature which you can take like an audio file and you just simply drag it down to the MIDI file or track, and it gives you all the MIDI data. Not just like monophonic MIDI data like Logic can do, but actually it looks like, polyphonic MIDI. So it's like you're looking at a guitar strum, it's going to analyze all of the notes and just convert it into MIDI. Just dragging it and it does it. That feature looks incredible. And something that very few other pieces of software are doing. Melodyne has a version of this that's always been like hit or miss depending on what, but generally pretty good. They were the first with their DNA. And then now this is built into Pro Tools. And it's like, I want that. I want that in Logic. I want to be able to take like a guitar loop or a piano loop. This is piano right here. And it's taking all the notes and putting them out in MIDI. That's incredible. They don't actually play a sample of it in this video, which leads me to think that they're proud of what it can do, but not exactly the quality of how it does it. But I haven't heard it, so I don't know. But this is pretty cool stuff. It's to be able to take a piano recording and then just pop out the MIDI by dragging it onto a MIDI track. That's pretty cool. So we're pushing forward more stuff. Each of these releases from all these different companies are pushing through more things. And we're hoping that, a lot of that will get pushed like with Logic. Now, the biggest push right now with Apple and Logic is not features right this moment. Sure, they added Dolby Atmos as a part of Logic, but you could do Dolby Atmos before that release. It was an add-on. So it wasn't really a new feature. And, now you can mix Dolby Atmos with your Apple headphones that do head tracking. That Pro Tools can't do that. And they don't have the Apple renderer if you want to listen to what it's going to sound like on Apple Music. So there's still some advantages to this, but we didn't really get a lot of new features in the last year. And so, we're due for something exciting. I'm excited to see what it is, but I feel like right this moment, the big updates are coming from the hardware side. So the Mac Studio, they're like, let's transition. Let's get the M1 going. Let's get the M2 out. And then, we can really do a lot more of some of the software things. I'm hoping that's what they're saying, but you just never know. Okay, so let's do this for a second. I'm going to put this out here at the end of the project because I want to see, there was that question about the MIDI stuff. So let's do a new MIDI track and then another one, instrument tracks, I should say. And let's put these into a track stack. I was using the summing stack. And for this one, let's just put a random retro synth. And for this one, let's put, doesn't matter, I don't think. Electric piano. Let me move my keyboard over a little bit. And just for the sake of making this a little bit more interesting, we'll put a drummer track in here. Oh, thank you for doing the whole drum stuff. Let's see. So what we're doing is just testing this out real quick to see if the track stack influences the MIDI recordings too. And who knows what we're going to get here. Okay, nothing fancy because I have a lot of latency when I do the live streams. Let's just... do a little more. Okay, it looks like it's recording. There's a lot of latency, so I can't really play anything. That's just from getting the audio from Logic into the streaming software. So it looks like with the track stacks there that's okay. It's not giving me all kinds of weird distorted sounds like it was with the microphone. And keep in mind, anytime you have an issue like where you're recording into a track stack and it has a bunch of things happening, that doesn't mean that necessarily even that Logic is totally broken. There are so many variables that come from all of this. It's my audio hardware. There's, in this case, my audio hardware is a USB device, and I don't know if that's having an issue or... it could be a number of things. I just know that before the 10.7.4 update and after it, that something definitely was broken. Another question. I see you're using arrangement sections in your project. Can you easily move a section even if it starts with a pickup bar in a previous section? Wondering if that would cause havoc and how to prevent. So yes, that does create havoc. So, for instance, let me do a save, and then let me do a save as, just so I can do this for you to show you. So if I click on the chorus section here, oh, it's still saving. Let's hope that this doesn't just like take a dive bomb. There we go. So for instance, this one has stuff hanging off the end of it maybe. So I'm going to do an option click with that chorus and just double it. And then you'll see there's like a little weirdness at the end of that right now. That's from the original one that it just got cut off. And so, yeah, it can be an issue for sure. The simple way to do this is if you have like a something that goes before the beginning of it, is that once you come in and do that, you just have to sometimes come back in here and do this to bring it back over. So if it's like a little pickup or something, you want to make sure you do that so you don't miss anything. And then if it's like a full bar or something, then I mean that's even a more compounded issue. So you can still do it, but then depending on what's coming before it, it may or may not make sense to do it that way. But I love the arrangement stuff. I love it when I'm working in certain styles. If there's a lot of stuff that's coming before the downbeats, it becomes a little bit of an issue, but usually you can clean it up. It's more of like a songwriting tool when you're moving things, and then you use it. Then you re-record like the main parts and performances later, and you don't have to worry about moving things then. And then Gunther says, happy about this Swift upgrade. The lack of automation for Arturia plugins was a real pain. Yeah, that affected a lot of people. And actually, has it been fixed in this one? Did you actually test it out with the Arturia plugins and make sure it was working? Anyway, let me know. Because this is the kind of thing that we use these updates sometimes for really specific purposes. And I hate it when I go in there and it's working and all of a sudden something else seems to stop working, and then I have to track that down and figure out what's really happening, because it doesn't seem like with the number of things that they were fixing that it would really screw other stuff up, but it happens. It certainly happens any given day. So, not else a lot to talk about with that update because it was pretty simple. But it just goes to show that the previous version, when the Arturia stuff all got jacked up, and everyone's like, "You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong," and then they're realizing, "No, it's okay. You're right. It's not working." That can be immensely frustrating for people because you need to like be able to work and to get stuff done. And so I think that that's the kind of thing that a larger beta would probably be better for. If they were to expand their, I don't even know how many people are beta testers for Apple with Logic. I'm certainly not, and even though over the years people are like, you should become a beta tester for Logic, and even if someone at Apple came to me and said, would you be a beta tester for Logic, I would tell them no. I don't want that. I don't want to see what's coming down the thing. So there's 3 parts to this. One of them is I love opening up Logic on like the update day and being like, oh, this is cool. It's like Christmas. I just love that feeling. And I know you'd still get it to a certain extent on, beta update days when they update that, but then I couldn't talk about it. It's like I don't want to have to like be so excited about a new feature without talking about it. And I've been a beta tester for a number of other pieces of software over the years, and I hate beta testing. It's like, give me something that's half working and tell me to like figure out what's wrong and track all that stuff. That's totally insanely boring. So I certainly don't do that. The other thing is, I want to be able to guess. I want to be able to make videos like this where I get to actually talk about what I think they're going to do next. And of course, beta testers all have those NDAs where you don't get to like talk about things in advance. And I know based on some people's channel, there's some big YouTubers who do a lot about Logic. And you can tell which ones are beta testers because they don't ever like conjecture, and then they have videos ready to go the day that it's released. So you can tell. And good for them. I'm glad that they're helping out with the software and hopefully making it better. I just don't want to be in that process ever. It's way more fun not to be. Cool. You're welcome for showing that with the arrange track. I've done a few other videos on my channel about the arrangement track. It does some really cool things. I almost always, when I'm doing what I would call traditional crappy music, songs where it's like, you know, in the style of pop music with verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. I almost always start with this, the arrangement track, because the minute you do that, you saw it a second ago when I made a new drummer track. Let's get rid of this drummer track for a second. When you make a new drummer track, if you already have the arrangement stuff there, then the drummer tries to give you all the parts that match with that, including in other styles. So if I change the style, it gives me a pattern that's like an intro. It gives me a pattern according to somebody that's like a verse and a chorus and a bridge. So they try to fill all that stuff out for you. It's pretty cool. I think the drummer track itself is one of the best parts about Logic. We just need more of it. We need like some additional styles and different additional kits and things like that. But I think the drummer concept and the integration into Logic is by far one of the best things that that they've done in the past 10 years with Logic. They've done a lot of cool things, but that's by far one of the best. And the original drummers sound so good. I mean, they definitely recorded them pretty well. And you can process them with individual tracks and things. I mean, it's really good. Gunther says, I often load the Arturia synths into the complete control, so I was not sure if this also works directly with Arturia plugins, but it's all well now. Cool. Yeah, I'm glad that they fixed that. I've gone back and forth with the Arturia stuff. I have used one of their big synth bundles, and I get tired. I get tired of that point when Logic updates and then Arturia is like, ooh, we're really sorry that this doesn't work with the new version. It's only going to cost you like $300 to get this working with a new version. And cool. You know, a lot of people who use them religiously and need them are going to pay that, and I'm just not one of them again. But just because I'm cheap doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that I'm cheap. And so with some things, I mean, I've got some of the real synths that they're using. So, I mean, it's like I just pull one of those out and use it instead of waiting for the software to get updated. So, and Pigments, I've heard really good things about Pigments. I mean, it's like I've seen it. I actually had the demo for a little while, and I almost bought it because I love it when a company does something new. That's one thing I love and hate about Behringer, for instance. They're with all these new hardware replicas that they're doing. It's like cool, you know, cool. But they're bringing some of those synths to people who couldn't afford them otherwise. So cool. On the other hand, it's like, it's been done. Let's do something new. And Pigments was one of the first fresh synths out there for a while. And then Gigadeath is asking about the arrangement track. Sure, we can talk about the arrangement track. So I'll show you with a new project real quick. I won't close the old one. I love how I can keep two projects open, by the way. I love to see Pro Tools do that. Suck on that, Avid. Quit wasting my time, Avid. Okay, cool. So the arrangement track, if you just like pop all the stuff in there. And I almost always write in what I call the 5-section song. I mean, it's so true. These are my 5 sections right there. With this, because I don't usually do like 2 verses. I don't extend that out. I don't do the chorus back and forth kind of thing, because really a chorus, you need one of them, and then you can re-record the vocals later so that they're all unique. But You're just going to have one essential structure for the chorus and one essential structure for the verse. But this is also, by the way, for everyone who does songwriting, this for me is one of the keys to turning 8 bars into a song. This is something that tons of my students struggle with. They're so good at making like these 4-bar or these 8-bar loops sections into like these amazing beats, and you hear them and it's like they're just like flapping like crazy, sounds amazing, and then all of a sudden I'm like, turn that into a song, and they're like, I don't know how to do that. I'm not good at doing that. And I think that this is actually one of the best, for me, it's like a really nice way to do this, because it forces you into it in different styles. So new drummer track, you'll see gives me the intro, verse, chorus, bridge, outro. And listen, here's the intro. Sounds kind of like an intro with Kyle, the drummer, playing. Here's the verse. Here's the chorus. Similar, but with the ride, and then here's the bridge. A different pattern. And you can change this between all of the different styles. So here's a pop songwriter style. Let's do root songwriter. Okay, so then I'm not going to be able to do too much playing because, again, the latency involved with live streaming. But let's just throw in some Apple loops. This would be a decent time to do that. No, I don't want it. That's too short. Let's do a 16. Oh, that is so bad. Come on. There we go. Let's find something that's actually decent. Oh, I don't even know if I can do this. I wish I could just play instead of having to pick a loop. Because I love the loops, but geez, you're hearing them just like I am. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to shorten this intro here down to that length. Actually, I can't do that yet. Let's see. Let's cut these in half. Because I don't want a full thing. So I'm going to delete that other intro here that we have there, and it just deletes everything. So then we have this like piano part here. Oh, don't listen to the style. So then we do something similar with the verse. We like actually get a part on here. We can do like a bass thing. And at some point, let me just get some sort of bass here just so you can see. So we do the bass, loop that out here, and maybe we're doing a different bass for this one here. So at some point we have our songs all built up in these like little sections. And then I'm like, you know what? I want my verse to be twice as long. So I'm going to option click the verse and drag it over. And now I've got 2 verses, and everything that was in the first one gets copied into the second one. And then I'm like, you know what? It's like, I like that that's the right thing. So let's use the glue tool. And I'm going to glue the first one here to the second one. Now it becomes one whole part of the arrangement thing. And so later on that becomes important. The chorus then, we have that here. So let's option click this verse and drag it to the right of the chorus. So all of that goes. And then I'm like, ooh, but now I need the other chorus after that verse. And now that's there. And then we have the bridge, which we haven't done anything with, but then we'll do the chorus. Now, this is all assuming we've done all of the other work here and building it up. But then it's like we're moving it around and doing all this stuff. And then I can mess around with a double chorus if I need to. by just option clicking it over. Or I can, option click that over and make the first one a pre-chorus and change it and then move that pre-chorus. And so I can just double click on this and say rename, and let's do pre-chorus. And then I'm like, ooh, but I need my pre-chorus here over before the other chorus. And so it's there. So now I can just like build this arrangement in a way that's really cool because of all of this, the features that are tied with the arrangement track. Everything that's automation, all the MIDI audio, all of that stuff moves with this when you do it. So really super cool. Hopefully that was helpful. That's like the extent in many ways. I mean, that's it. That's beginning to end the arrangement track. It doesn't do a lot of other stuff. It's actually a pain in the butt to use sometimes. Meaning like if you want to like extend out part of this, you can do it and it'll erase stuff, but it gets really messy when you start doing that. I thought you could only have different arrangement titles for sections. Does that mean you just learned something new, or are you asking, 5? No, so you can do, you can name them anything you want. So here's the outro. It's like, I hate this section. And so later on, you have to remember that you're just like, I hated that section. I need to delete it. And so then you can delete it later. And thank you, Gigadeath, for your support. That's awesome. The drop down has these 5, but then you can rename it. So you can add any that you want. It's always fun to put like code words in there. Fun for me. I'm a nerd. But it's always like a great place to keep some notes if you need to. Other questions? We're going to probably go about another 10 minutes, maybe, if people are talking. And if you're not, then we're going to do that thing where we just like drain the bathwater. Overall, I don't care what people say about the bugs in Logic. I'm never going to switch for my own personal projects because there's too many things that work really well and that sound awesome. And so anything that comes out that's a bug, if I can't get a workaround, then maybe I'll change my tune someday. But this piece of software has so much to offer that other ones don't. And I was talking earlier about the new Pro Tools stuff, which makes it look and act more like Logic every time they do something. They're not the only ones. Logic has made themselves look more like Ableton over the years. We have this whole, live loops thing, which, for the record, I have still never done a tutorial on YouTube about live loops. So I'm never going to, I don't think. I think that's a hill I'm going to die on. I never want to do a tutorial about it. So the minute you see me doing a tutorial about that is the minute that I give in. Because I just don't, it's cool. It's not like I'm against it. If I'm going to do that type of music production, 150%, I'm going to up my license of Ableton and do it there. Because what they do in Logic is like a ghost of what they can do in Ableton with some of that loop production stuff. It's just so much better. And then Gigadeath says, one suggestion, I'm always loving your infos related to the workflow, mixer arrangement. Cool. Yeah, so I make quite a few videos on this platform. I like making videos. It's kind of like a nice change up to what I do professionally, which is teaching. I'm just kidding. It's like the same exact thing as what I do professionally. But this is a way to expand that a little bit and to do it outside of the normal classroom. And some of my videos do well, and some of them like don't do very well. Over the years, my videos that have done the best are things about like the drummer and, you know, tweaking guitar sounds. And did I mention the drummer? All my percussion stuff seems to do better. And then I do some really cool videos, I think, and there's like 50 people watch them. And so it's always interesting to see the split there. But I don't really care which of the videos do well or not. When I do something and I learn something and I think, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Then I make a video about it. And somebody will watch it who needed it at some point, and other times nobody will watch it, but I still thought it was super cool. Okay, a couple more questions. I remember you did a Logic version history. I'm still wondering what is next. Yeah, I'm always wondering what's next. Right now, we have to get through this hardware transition. And then, because of so much power being added, whatever's next is going to be is going to force people to upgrade. I mean, that's the whole model of this. The whole model from Apple is give everybody some features that are really powerful, and then require a better computer to use it. Do you think that it's a mistake that Apple's given every Logic 10 update for free for everyone who's ever bought Logic 10? It's not a mistake. Their model is let's give them stuff that's really cool, but they have to upgrade their computer to use it. I mean, that's their model every single time. I mean, don't mistake that. It's not like they're being like benevolent. But they're also being smart because they are giving us value in the software if we're willing to buy the new computers. And that's where they're making a lot of money. Let's see. Another question, I'm a little bit behind. Do you have any problems reversing original Apple audio files? Reversing? Are you talking about like flipping so it plays backwards? If that's the question, then no, I don't have any issues. Gigadeath is, do you still have your trip to Europe? Yes. I was just in Austria 2 weeks ago. But I'll be in Prague with students in June. So I'll be in Europe for 2 weeks. And I will be posting if anyone's interested in doing a meetup in that region. But just depends on who's interested. Because when I went to Austria, I posted something and nobody was interested. I don't know how many viewers I have in Austria, especially in Salzburg. I mean, there aren't that many. But thanks, Gunther, for watching videos. It's a shame that Logic doesn't. This is from Pop Politzai. It's a shame that Logic doesn't support ARA on M1 Max yet. Really hope they would with this latest update. Please check my question. With Logic. Gunther's in Munich. So yeah, that's close to the Czech Republic. Come on over, Gunther. I'll be posting, so keep your eyes peeled. We'll do a meetup for anybody. With Logic original audio file. I guess I don't understand your question, Fernando. I think I'm probably just misunderstanding something silly with your question. Afrosheen T3 ARC, Michael. I had to approve your comment. So that's why it took a minute to pop up. But I approved it. Because I don't necessarily disagree. And then Gunther says if I come to Munich. We probably won't be leaving the country just because of COVID regulations. I have to keep all my students in the one country. And then do I think that Final Cut and Logic will merge? I hope not. But I wouldn't mind if they collaborate better together, because that's always good. They do pretty well right now. Let's see. southern part of the Netherlands, so too far away. That is pretty far, but I've heard it's very pretty there. And then Flo Dojo says, hey, love your channel. I literally watch you in case I don't understand. I literally watch you because I don't understand half of what you say, but I want to. Yeah, I've never apologized for making videos that go fast at a high level. There are channels that do like a lot of beginner stuff, and that's not my speed. But certainly everyone gets to the point if they use this enough where they understand it all. With Logic, loop to reverse them. Oh, so it is best to first bounce them out. I'm from Germany as well, so please inform us. Okay, cool. Gunther's, that's what I mean. So, for instance, let me show you two different things here. One of them, I've got this audio file like that. And a simple thing, let me think about this for a second. There's a little button right here that says reverse. And you just so to reverse that, all I do is click on and go over to the channel properties, and I just click the reverse button. So that's all you have to do to reverse a file. Is this what you're talking about? Anyway, let me know, because it's that simple reverse click there reverses any audio file. And then AO Bill says, I just updated Logic, but I can't hear any sound coming out some of my plugins. How can I fix that? I don't actually have the question. Let me try the MIDI loop, because if that was just an audio loop, that's a true point. So this is now... Yeah, so you can't do that. But if you want to do the MIDI loop, so for instance, say this is a MIDI file right here. If you drag it onto an audio file or an audio track, it converts it to audio, right? And then you just click the reverse. So you can't reverse a MIDI by itself, but if you drag the MIDI loop onto an audio track, it converts it to audio, and then you just hit the reverse checkbox over on the left and you do the same thing. So it just depends. Audio and MIDI loops. So the MIDI loops, they have an audio component to them, so that just essentially renders them out if you drag it onto an audio track first. At this point, the Mac Studio is not going to be replaced with an M2 chip for at least a year. And by all accounts, what we're seeing is that the M2 is going to have better performance, but it's not going to be like going from the Intel to the Silicon. And so the M2 is likely to have faster speeds and, and things. But the M2 Mac Mini is still going to be less powerful than the M1 Ultra Mac Studio. So I don't think you can go wrong with either of those. The question is, RGT, do you need something now or do you need something later? And so, obviously, it's always makes more sense to wait, to buy it when you need it. And so the Mac Studios, the higher end versions of those are going to be relevant for like 5 or 10 years. There's no way that Logic is going to all of a sudden add some sort of process that takes up all of the power available on the Mac Studio. It hasn't happened in the last 5 or 10 years. And some of you, I'm sure, are using computers that are that old. So, cool. Just get to what you need. Right this moment, I'm still using one of the Mac Mini M1s, and I haven't hit the ceiling on it. And my next computer will probably be a Mac Studio of some sort. And I'm a professor at a university, so I'll probably apply for a grant at some point that includes one. If you can find an opportunity like that, then that would be the best. Okay, back to the comments for a second. Mac Studio from Gunther. It seems as if they don't allow you to upgrade yourself the memory and stuff. Quite disappointing. Yes, for some people I know that's disappointing. For me, I don't care. I have a gaming Windows computer right over to the side of me here, and it's a beast. It's I have to use it for any of the stuff I do with virtual reality and virtual reality editing, and so it's a beast, and I can upgrade that all I want. So if I need an itch to upgrade stuff, then that's the way to do it. I don't want to open up the Mac stuff because I want it to just work. And then, yeah. And then Gigadesk says 30 minutes listening is worth as much as a month of trying out stuff. So M1, which will still be fine. I think so too. And then there will always be newer things. Yep. When I revert to Auto Backup 10, do I lose Auto Backups 1 through 9? Is there a way to keep access to them all? Thanks. So, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I don't know the exact answer to that question, but I do know. Let's go to my music, Logic. Let's show the package contents here of this Logic file. Do I even have backups? Oh yeah, there they are. So you should be able to come in and if you really needed to, you could probably back this part up if you're going. So if you're having to revert to a backup, you could actually see exactly what you're doing. But I would copy your whole project to a new place before reverting to a backup anyway. Usually if you're reverting to a backup, something's gone wrong. And so I would definitely do that. But I'm in an Untitled project right now. So we have, I don't think I have, here we go. Yeah, I don't have any backups on this project right now. Just because I just made it in the middle of this live stream. But so you could, also if you're using Time Machine, the Apple backup technique, then you can certainly go back to earlier versions and pull those and then use the backup from there. So you wouldn't lose them in that case. But if you're in crisis mode and needing to revert to a backup, then save your whole project to a different place, and then you can start trying to figure out which one you need to go to. Flow Dojo. I hope that answered your question at least somewhat. And I love track alternatives. This was another comment that just came in. Maybe use track alternatives instead of backups. I don't use them all the time because I'm pretty gutsy. But certainly there have been some moments when I'm like, okay, I need to be able to get back to this. So I need to make a track alternative. So track alternative is when you're over here on your track header components and you say track alternatives, and then this little double arrow pops up next to the name, and you can duplicate this, and then you're like, ooh, I'm going to move this, and then you're like, oh shoot, I don't remember what I just did. You can go back to the A version and it's like the original, and so that's always a nice thing to do. Track alternatives, ooh, they were in Pro Tools before Logic, and probably they were in Cubase before Logic as well. But so we came later to the party with that, but it's a cool feature. To get a compromised project back, it is also possible to use the upper right button and click on project and import the tracks individually into a new project. Anyone who doesn't know what he's referring to there's this whole thing with the media browser where you can go to all files. And this, I use this one more than I need to sometimes too. But so music, come on, open up Logic. And say I just like open up this project here, you have access to all of the tracks from this other project, the content, the plugins, the I/O. You just select what you want to import and you just say add, and you can add them back into your original. You can add them into this new project. So it's a great way to like take stuff from other projects without having to like copy and paste or do other stuff. This goes directly into the other Logic projects and allows you to bring that stuff over, including, by the way, project settings, which are everything from screen sets to score sets to MIDI settings to metronome settings. All of that stuff you can import from one project to another. Super awesome. I mean, again, if you're comparing, this was probably in Pro Tools before. You could import projects, but it's easier in Logic than some of the other DAWs. But some of the other ones had this first. Gunther, I've had a couple projects that were corrupted that I couldn't even do this with, but it's certainly one or two of the times that something went wrong. Excuse me. And I couldn't get into it, and this did work. So you're totally right. Okay, I think I got to go do something else now in IRL. So any last questions? This is your moment to ask them before we pull the plug and let the bathwater drain. Anything? Thanks for coming on. Some of you have been here like a lot of this stream, and I appreciate that. Some of you were doing some super chat donations, which makes me love you. So I really appreciate that. Anytime we do these, any support you show, not only just that form, but just being here and asking questions. That's why I do this. So if you're quiet and don't talk or communicate, then I'm going to stop doing it forever. So certainly keep coming back and asking questions. And with that, you're welcome, Flow Dojo. More MIDI environment. You're like a masochist who wants to like suffer. So we can make that happen, I think, at some point. But anyway, good to talk to you all, and let's end this stream, and we'll do another one soon.